Hi everyone, welcome to another one of our weekly chats. This week we are going to be discussing Pinterest and some interesting data that came out about how the half-life of the popularity of pins is much longer than with other networks.
Yeah, and when you hear half-life, it immediately makes you think like science, and what does that mean? And what it means is, in Pinterest, is that half of the pins occur at least after this certain point. Half of the clicks on the pins occur after a certain point. And so on Facebook, the half-life of an update is relative to how many impressions it gets, and it's very, very short. I think it's 30 minutes. Most of your reach comes in the first 30 minutes. Half of your reach comes in the first 30 minutes of a Facebook update. The other half comes after 30 minutes. For Pinterest, the half of the clicks on a pin come 2.5 months or more after that pin is first pinned. And so it's interesting for a couple reasons. Number one, Facebook is mostly original content with some sharing. Pinterest is mostly resharing content, repinning.
Yeah.
So that keeps your pin alive. And the other thing is you're on Pinterest for discovery and product discovery, not friend updates. And so people are actively sort of exploring and looking for things to click on and learn more about. And so that's just another reason why Pinterest is so interesting for certain kinds of brands. And the other thing that was in the data is that companies using the rich pins, where you can put certain data points in there, are having better engagement.
Yeah, I'm just more and more impressed with Pinterest over time. They're doing a really fantastic job. It's one of the few sites where you're not annoyed by product information. That's actually what you're trying to find out more about. The things that are old or that you've seen before are nice reminders. You know, they don't get outdated. Yeah.
And you just mentioned that they've started map pins or pin maps, or
there's a new type of board that you can create, and so it's great for like planning vacations or
music festivals.
Yeah, music festivals, or collaborative boards with your friends if you want to plan a trip. But basically, you created this unique type of board, and if certain sites have this unique type of data where it has like the actual physical location,
it can read it.
Right. Through Foursquare, which we're going to talk about in a second, it will, on one side, so like if you're imagining this is the screen, so here will be your pins, and here will be a map. And then all your pins will have little pinpoints on the map, and as you highlight them, they will highlight in red so you can actually see where all the locations are.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great usability. They just introduced it this week. It's kind of fun to fool around with, and it'll be really interesting to see like sites like TripAdvisor and those kinds of places, hotel websites, what they're going to do. It'll be really interesting.
Excellent.
Yeah, but so they're getting a lot of the data they're getting from Foursquare, and that brings us to our next topic. Foursquare's not looking too good, actually.
Foursquare's having trouble,
Yeah.
and they took on, I think it was $41 million in debt financing to sort of stay afloat. And debt financing is not the financing that VC companies usually get. It means that basically those people would be paid first in the event of a liquidation. So it's a little scary, right? If you own Foursquare. So, but at the same time, Foursquare powers Facebook check-ins. Foursquare powers this Pinterest board, apparently, and Facebook does not want to switch to Google Maps to power that stuff. And so there's this question of Foursquare as infrastructure, which is actually looking pretty decent, but I don't know if it brings them any revenue. I'm not sure. And then Foursquare is an app that we actually use. And this week they announced passive recommendations. And what it is if you've got the Foursquare app, I assume, running in the background, and you are standing in a bakery for more than a couple minutes, it pops up on your phone and said, people at this bakery love the crumb cake. And that could be potentially really helpful. So the question becomes, are we at a point where enough people have the app at least open in the background where they start to see the benefit of this feature, which will roll out between now and December 31st. So Foursquare is on about their third or fourth pivot to try and find use for all this data that they do have, and to try and keep them alive as one of the trendier ways to be social.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Yeah. Well, that does it for this week. If you would like to get our weekly email blast, you can do so at ignitesocialmedia.com, and you can follow us on Twitter at IgniteSMA.